Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. You know, I hate talking about anything entertainment related. I hate it so much I couldn't even bring myself to do an entire video attacking watching the Super Bowl. But in this case, I feel like something needs to be said. I watched Monique's interview with Shannon Sharpe, and this will probably be the very last time that I even talk about Shannon Sharpe's podcast, not because I dislike him or anything, nothing personal. But chatting with celebrities is the most uninteresting thing that I can think of to watch. But the entire point happens to be that Monique has gotten a lot of attention just like Shannon Sharpe's interview with Katt Williams did. Over 10 million views in only a few days. And yes, let's be bluntly honest here. Shannon Sharpe no doubt is thinking, hey, captured lightning in a bottle with that Katt Williams interview. Might as well go ahead and see if we can push that button again and see how much farther it goes. Nobody's expecting that he'll reach the lofty heights of the Katt Williams when that was a phenomenon in and of itself. But, not to say that he can't get close. But Monique, whether or not you like her or not is beside the point. This morning's briefing happens to be about why are so many people deciding that they're obsessing over this? Is it because of the fact that the Katt Williams interview set the internet on fire and they're basically wanting to get another hit? Or is it because there was actually something substantive going on? Whereas Katt Williams basically did something like 2.5 hours of basically torching the entire entertainment industry, Monique's interview was much more personal. She was talking about specifically people that she had had interactions with. Well, I gotta say something on that. Katt Williams did talk about Monique some years back. She was complaining about the fact that Netflix wasn't offering her the kind of money that she felt that she ought to be offered. Katt Williams' explanation for that is that Netflix bases what they pay these comedians on how many tickets to their shows that they've sold in one calendar year. According to Katt Williams, Monique sold a couple 100,000 tickets to her show over the course of one calendar year, so that's what Netflix offer was. Katt Williams said that he had sold a couple million tickets in 1 year, so that's what Netflix offered him. His point, of course, being that there wasn't some conspiracy by the executives at Netflix, that they had their formula, and what the formula was based on was the number of tickets sold, and that if Monique were to get her numbers up, she could get a better offer. But even if you're thoroughly on Monique's side on that, you still have to concede that not all of her complaints regarding Netflix made the most sense. She talked about how she was being paid compared to people like Dave Chappelle and Amy Schumer. Now, Dave Chappelle had a hit show, which definitely had a lot better ratings than Monique's show did, so obviously Dave Chappelle is going to be paid differently than anyone else. And as for Amy Schumer, let's be bluntly honest here, the woman has no talent. The only reason Amy Schumer is a thing is because she's related to the most powerful senator in America, making him one of the 5 most powerful politicians on the planet. And when Chuck Schumer's your cousin, yeah, considering the incestuous ties between Tinseltown and D.C., of course the cousin of Senator Chuck Schumer is going to be treated differently. People are going to be throwing her work regardless of her lack of talent because everybody wants to be in good with the power brokers inside the Beltway. So while much of Monique's gripes with Netflix I think actually do have merit, a number of them just didn't. Dave Chappelle, Amy Schumer, comparing herself to them, that one answers itself. Now, as for her interview with Shannon Sharpe, she sounded off on Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry. She talked about Taraji P. Henson's very sad interviews, crying about how she wasn't getting paid and the fact that Oprah was behind it, which surprised absolutely nobody. Then, of course, she had some things to say about D.L. Hughley. I'm not a fan of Hughley, so she can take her shots with impunity. But Hughley predictably would clap back, and why dredge that up again? Do we really need to have another back and forth between those two? Her criticism of Oprah was no surprise to anyone. Oprah's not out for anybody but Oprah. It makes you wonder why, though, for nearly 2 generations, you had a number of black women who came to idolize her when she was doing nothing but burying black women every chance that she got. That's why having revivals of crap like The Color Purple is so damnable. People are sitting here celebrating Oprah Winfrey, and Oprah Winfrey has done nothing for the black community at all. She has hurt black women more than anyone might want to pretend that she's helped them. But when you've built a cult of personality because the white media decided to make you a thing, I guess it does have real value, though, when somebody points out, hey, this is what sister girl Oprah did to me, just so you know. But of course, Monique didn't just sound off about Oprah. She also talked about Tyler Perry as well. She claimed that there was a recording that she had of a conversation she and Tyler Perry had. I didn't hear it, she didn't play it, but she said that basically Tyler Perry agreed to everything that she had said, that he was wrong and all the rest of it. Again, while you can respect what Tyler Perry has accomplished, taking an old military base, actually being able to buy it and turn it into his own private studio, As Dr. John Henrik Clarke said, it is an accomplishment. But for who and for what? Tyler Perry, of course, is another baffling example of how it is that when it comes to entertainment, too many black folks have no taste at all. And I gotta tell you, it's not a victimless crime when you decide that you'll pay money for a Tyler Perry stage show or for one of his movies or such, because when you give money to something, you are empowering the people behind it. You're encouraging them to make more. You're making it possible for them to make more of it, a lot more of it. So no, going ahead and consuming Tyler Perry's content, that is not just something that only affects the person doing it. Now, while I'm sure that much of what Monique said is factual, I also believe that, as you would expect, she probably puts a little bit of a slant on some of it too. But even if a number of things she said weren't the absolute truth, much of it definitely sounds solid. Okay, so if Monique was tripping down memory lane, and she was also airing out some of the grievances that she's had with certain figures in Hollywood, why is this the subject of this morning's briefing? Well, the reason why is I know that these two interviews that Shannon hosted with Katt Williams and with Monique are getting a lot of attention. I guess I'm just a little ambivalent as to what this means outside of its immediate controversy. I'm not saying that these interviews need to have some sort of great depth to them, or that they need to be the most erudite conversations ever, not at all. But for me, I'm only interested in what this has to do with a larger, intelligent conversation. And other than verifying what we in the black media have been telling you for over a decade, didn't shine that much light. Yes, Monique did give some new details and specifics about her past conflicts with Oprah, Tyler Perry, and Lee Daniels. But none of it was mind-blowing because as soon as you say Lee Daniels or Oprah or Tyler Perry, we know exactly what to expect. But I do think that this happens to be symbolic, and it's also telling for a lot of black folks who get stars in their eyes. I know that there's some folks who have probably dipped their toes in the waters of, could I find a way to get an in Hollywood? So just understand exactly what you're dealing with, what it is you will want to jump into, and the mentalities of the people that you see on television or see on these movie screens. They'll be sitting here playing a part, not just in front of the cameras whenever they're shooting a movie, but also whenever they're doing interviews as well. They're also still just playing a role. So you got these Negroes whose job is to be entertainers. But that's only one part of what it is that they do, one part of the purpose that they serve under white supremacy, especially in the white media. They use entertainment as a means of getting your attention, getting you to like them, or at the very least to pay attention to them. And then, when you see an interview with them, they start talking all this off-the-wall nonsense, or you hear about some behind-the-scenes dirty dealings that they do. It's very important that we understand what it is that these so-called black celebrities actually believe, because that's what they do whenever they're not in front of the cameras. There is no sisterhood in Hollywood, no black unity either, not for people trying to get in or for people trying to make their money right and climb the ladder, and definitely not for the one or two hand-picked elite Negroes who the white media uses as their mascots. All that sister girl nonsense that Oprah Winfrey and others do in front of the cameras all these decades, that doesn't apply in Hollywood. And neither does the phony talk about blackness and even racism that some black celebrities try. I mean, that stuff doesn't even sound authentic coming out of their mouths. All the stuff about telling people not to make waves because you're gonna mess it up for the rest of us. Now, as for Shannon Sharpe, I've only seen about 2 episodes of his podcast, the one with Katt Williams and the one with Monique. I mainly watched both of them because I wanted to see what people were talking about and whether or not it was worthwhile. Okay, so now I've seen it, and I still have no burning desire to watch any more of Shannon Sharpe's content. Not because Shannon's a bad guy or anything, he's not, but simply because it reminds me of the morning AM shows where some white radio network has people gossiping and beefing over the airwaves. Yes, it is cathartic to be seeing at least 1 or 2 black celebrities going ahead and confirming what it is that we already believe. But past that, now what? Is this what Shannon's podcast is going to be, now that he's set the internet on fire with Katt Williams? The one with Monique's done over 10 million views in only 4 days. There's people who, of course, are saying that they hope that this won't become the norm for Shannon's podcast, that it doesn't become about people doing hot takes about the industry. People have talked about whether the things said by guests on his show could lead to someone getting in their feelings and filing a lawsuit. Now, to me, that's wishful thinking by people who are jealous of the success that Shannon's had, at least in the short term, people who are envious of it, or people who are mad because one of their little heroes, Oprah, Tyler Perry, or anyone who Katt Williams roasted, got called out. People who never have a problem with Vlad's interviews, which draw from the same well, and yet they save their outrage for Shannon Sharpe. They start opining and speculating about, well, what if somebody files a defamation lawsuit? You want to be real careful about this. Yeah, which they never do at any other time. Now, should Shannon Sharpe be doing interviews that are not about people dishing dirt on the industry? He already has, and he allows his guests to talk about whatever they want. It's his podcast. He can do whatever it is he feels he likes to do. Shannon hadn't gotten tens of millions of views before this, and truth be told, once you get those kind of numbers, you're going to want to keep them coming in. But in my opinion, the Monique interview is similar to the Katt Williams one in that it got a lot of attention, a lot of people talking about Shannon Sharpe's podcast. But as Black people, I hope that we develop an appetite for a higher, more intelligent type of fare. I'm not saying either Katt Williams or Monique were wrong for what they've said, and it's precisely because people in their positions don't name names that so many people paid attention to it. I get that. I also get that were they not entertainers, 97% of the people obsessing over what they said wouldn't care about it at all. This is just more evidence that Hollywood is every bit as putrid and backstabbing and untrustworthy as any of you thought, that the very people who smile in your face there, they're all just playing a role, whether they're in front of the cameras or not. They never stop acting. And the main performance that they give is to act like they're people's friends. It's not their jobs to be friendly or decent, though it is their jobs to get in front of the cameras and convince you that they are. Well, at the very least, I think we can all agree that there was certainly one worthwhile thing that came out of both the Katt Williams and Monique interviews with Shannon Sharpe. Eddie Griffin said they don't let Black people get out of the game clean. And that's a fact. And even if you don't get any dirt on yourself along the way, there's plenty of people in Hollywood who will be more than happy to sling mud at you regardless. And a lot of them will look just like you. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Latavius, Nicholas Moore, Dia Williams, Alan Reese, and Antonio Daniels. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.